What's up?
What's happening?
What's going on, man? Year-end episode, Young Bucks Old Goats here, and we are going to be talking a little football. We're going to talk a little year-end lists. I believe the Dallas Cowboys here on the Saturday night edition of Monday Night Football have just picked off a 2-point attempt here from Jared Goff to. Oh wait, there's an offsides. There's a flag. This is going to be the third time that they attempt this play. There was an illegal man downfield, I think, on the first time that the Lions did convert this. So this will be the third. I might just kick the extra point at this point. Or just, I don't know. What do? You keep rolling the dice here?
Wow, they've attempted it 3 times?
I believe the first time that they attempted this, there was an illegal man downfield. They had converted it. Now, I believe Goff got intercepted, but there were offsides. The Cowboys were offside. And here they are going for it yet again. And Jared Goff sort of underthrows somebody in the flat here, and he drops it or can't make the catch. And this game is 23 seconds left. This game's over, basically.
And the score is?
20-19 Cowboys. This game seemed for a little while like who would choke first, or who wanted to choke, or who didn't want to choke.
Oh, wow. So the Cowboys scored?
The Cowboys were ahead 17-13, and then they got down there and they made another field goal to make it 20-13. And the Lions, with about a minute and change, drove down the field and scored.
Okay. Got it.
And they end up having to do this thing 3 times. These two franchises, to me, are kind of – one is eternal sort of losers, at least in the NFL era. I know it kind of was a proud franchise in the pre-Super Bowl era.
Yes.
But in the Super Bowl era, this team's just been kind of a joke. And these other guys – did you see the halftime thing with Jimmy Johnson?
I did.
Usually you get into the Ring of Fame of your stadium or local team first before the Hall of Fame, right? Because there's no limitation on that. Sometimes they'll put you in pretty quickly. Yes. Is that right, or am I imagining that?
No, I mean, there's no real hard requirements to make the Ring of Honors of the individual teams. They're pretty open, and they could be changed at any time or whatever. So getting people in is usually the first thing.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I remember Marino getting put up there pretty quickly.
Yes,
and if I'm not mistaken, they moved around Duper and Clayton, or they put them in together with him there in the end zone. I don't remember exactly, but
I think there is. A Marx Brothers kind of Ring of Honor entry, and it's got both Duper and Clayton's numbers. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I think Marino's flanked by the Marx Brothers. There's an onside kick here that fails. Anyways, it was just like Jimmy Johnson has been in the Hall of Fame for some time.
I think he may have been put in the last 2 years or so.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not as long as I thought then. I thought he's been in for a while. Let's see. Jimmy Johnson.
Take 3 years?
Regardless, he should have been in the Cowboys Ring of Fame long ago because he's been.
Yes. That's without a doubt.
Yeah, you're right. He was just 2020, actually, just within the last 3 years. Yes, so I guess there's that long-standing feud, but they seem to have squashed that, apparently.
Yeah, I think Jerry realized that he's getting pretty old, and if he doesn't fix that, it'll be a mistake forever,
They're going to be about to let him in heaven, and they're going to be like, oh, but you didn't put Jimmy Johnson in the Ring of Honor, so.
Precisely.
Sorry, buddy. But anyways, looking at that core, It's been a while since the glory days for these people too, bro. All those guys are old already. I mean, that's been what, 30 years now since they won Super Bowl, something like.
It hasn't been 50 though.
Yeah, you're right. It hasn't been a lifetime like the Dolphins. We'll talk about the Dolphins in a little bit. We got a big game tomorrow. Ravens. That game is for the top seed, and that won't even be over if let's say we do win tomorrow. We got to win next week to secure that, because I believe if we'll be right back where we are right now if we win and lose, and Baltimore loses and wins.
Right.
Because we'll just have the first seed on tiebreaker scenario if we win tomorrow. But if we go and we lose next week and they win, which I don't even know who they play next week. Do you know who the Ravens play next week?
I didn't think it was a hard team, but I don't remember.
We got a tough one down here at home.
Definitely.
Buffalo. Well, I thought Dallas was going to drop their third straight here. They certainly looked like they were thinking about.
They tried.
Yeah, they sure did. And all their games lately are like this, 20-19 or whatever.
Yeah, because that defense pretty much keeps you in the game. And then depending if your offense could do anything, and they've scored a lot of points at home.
Not today.
Yeah, not today.
I mean, they had one sort of miracle play where Dak almost gets safetied or sacked or, back there, and he ends up throwing a 92-yard touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb, which that's not in the playbook probably. That just kind of.
No, that looked like it just broke down and he went for it.
That looked like CAG Prescott on the play.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think about tomorrow? What do you think? Looking through your crystal ball there, what are you thinking?
Well, if you're a trends guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at this type of matchup in the last few years for the Miami Dolphins, and it's not favorable. What do I mean? I'm talking about playing in the road, a good opponent, physical team, bad weather.
How cold is it going to be? Because if it's this cold here in Miami, how cold is it going to be in Baltimore?
I didn't hear snow or anything. I heard rain and wind. Very likely.
Waddle's out. Tyreek's banged up.
Yeah. And the weakness of this team is supposedly, the run. So
the weakness of the Ravens?
Supposedly
defending the run?
Yeah, defending the run. So
yeah. That's what we should key on.
It does play on the fact that you don't have to put pressure on the air attack with Waddle out and Tyreek banged up, but
dude, the Dolphins are getting a lot of hate nationally. Have you noticed from different media? I don't want to say hate, but like I think almost everybody picked Baltimore tomorrow. Of course, Colin Cowherd, he's always talking shit on Tua and the Dolphins. Who else?
Well, it's kind of, I hate to use the word polarizing because people use that for everything now, but there's either people who believe in Tua and are in love with that whole story and he's a good kid and I got all that. And remember, he has a pedigree where he's won before, also that he's gotten injured before, and then there's the people who think, the team is gimmicky. It's, it could be stopped easy.
Cute is the word they kept using. Is cute. They kept using this week in the media.
Yeah. So, and certainly you could find things that support both arguments because at times they do happen, you know?
Yeah, but the fan base, and I'm part of it, okay? But in general, is very annoying because the fan base is desperate to legitimize Tua and is desperate to legitimize this team. I don't know, more than any other fan base. Like they want to just say, hey, we're good, right? Hey, he's good, right? But you don't, that like you show that, you show that by going to the playoff games, winning one, making a run, beating good teams. You don't just like, hey, give me, like, it's not like a rank that you get like in the military or like people know that. You don't have to say that to anybody. People just everybody knows the Niners are freaking good. You don't hear Niners fans asking to be legitimized. You don't hear Chiefs fan, they did it already. Like we don't got to, no, but you could say as much as you want about the Chiefs this year, but there still are the Chiefs, and that still is Patrick Mahomes, and that's still Walrus Man that likes to eat cheeseburgers.
Andy Reid.
Coaching. Andy Reid, thank you. Like everybody knows who those people are. Everybody like wants to put these guys with them already. No.
But you know what? There's another layer of fan what is it? Dissection, I guess, for lack of a better term. There's the fans who have the attitude of, hey, just shut up and enjoy this. We've been losing for a long time. Just shut up and enjoy this. And then there's the people that have been around a lot, around through the good and the bad, and mostly the bad, right? Because that's been the last history, that say they have this attitude of, when is the next shoe going to fall? When is, okay, we've seen this a million times. When is the wheels going to fall off? So you have those two camps too that people put you in.
Well, I'm in that one. And I get pushed more to that with the other rah people. Like if I didn't have those people like driving me crazy, I might enjoy it a little bit more. But they go so far, these far right, far left, I don't know, let's call it, if it were a political spectrum, that they put, and almost like in real politics, sometimes those people were pushing each other further and further away, right? Like with the political landscape the last few years, I feel like I'm getting pushed further into like, yeah, we're going to choke any minute now because these other people are telling me we're going to the Super Bowl and Tua's going to be a Hall of Famer at some point.
Yeah, I can't go that far, but I do have to remind myself to try to enjoy it because we just haven't been winning. This is the most winning we've done in a long time, right?
By the way, you had asked me who scored the touchdown. It was that St. Brown guy.
Yeah.
At the end of the game. So the Lions are now 11-5, as are the Cowboys. They both have the same record. Sorry, go ahead. You can finish. I just wanted to tell you about that you had asked earlier.
Well, no, and there I was highlighting the other divisions that occur between the whole two, and like I said, I feel that I'm caught up with by design because as a longtime fan, like I said, a lot of the last 20 years has been pretty brutal,
I guess if I was a fan, say the last 5 years, this thing's going pretty fucking good because I started and we were losing all the time.
Right.
But they were telling us that we were tanking. So we were like, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Oh my God, this guy Tua won a championship. Oh my God, we actually got him and we didn't tank as much. And then now we got Tyreek, and then now we got a new coach, and then now we went to a playoff game, and now we clinched a second playoff spot. I guess if you look at it just in the 5-year thing, it's pretty good. But you gotta be realistic. We haven't done shit yet.
No.
Shit.
We haven't won a playoff game
in 25 years or 23 years or something. Year 2000. That might have been the 99 season. 2000 calendar year. It's
Or
it's
we
about
may have
time.
done a 2001.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that Colt game was. I thought it was 2000, but maybe it was 2001 for the 2000 season. Maybe.
Well, and then do you remember when we went to the Raven game?
Yeah, but we lost that one
Actually, we've been to 2 Raven playoff games.
after that, and we lost both.
The first one, I think, may have been the last time that we were in the playoffs, just before 2008. That was 2003, I believe.
Yeah. So, right.
It's a lot
Once
of
that was
years
still
there.
there, and then
Depressing.
the other one was the year we won the division, right?
The year we won the division was 2008. After being 1-15 in 2007.
So here's our last playoff games total. Last year, Buffalo, that was a road game, obviously. 2016, Tannehill injured Mike Moore with Ryan Gaze. That was the Steelers. 2008 playoffs. That's the year we won the division. This game occurred in 2009 against Baltimore. We lost that 27-9. None of these games have been close. The Bills game was pretty close last year, 34-31. That we could have won that game barring all the wasted timeouts and delays of games, and then going back further was 2002, also the Ravens. This was Juan Stash. That's
what year was that?
The game was played in 2002, but it was for the 2001 season.
Okay.
And then the 2000 playoffs is the last time we won, and it was actually played in the year 2000, December 30th, 2000. Damn bum, we are on the anniversary of that game tonight. December 30th, 2000. So that was exactly 23 years ago to the day.
That's when we beat the Colts?
That's when we beat the Colts. I'm sorry. Wait a second. Yes. Overtime. We absolutely, Lamar Smith still hasn't recovered. We absolutely killed him that game. We win 23-7. And then we go on the road the next week against the Raiders and we get killed 27-0.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. The year before that was we beat the Seahawks and then the dismantling of Marino.
Wow. Do you remember the narrative that was being spoken of that time? It's amazing how much you fall sometimes as a sports fan. The narrative back then was, wow, the Dolphins keep losing every time they get to the second round of the play.
Oh, my God. We would be killing people. Yeah, because they did that 3 years in a row.
Yeah, I think they did it against Denver one year. They did it against
the year before. We beat the Bills in the first round, and then we lost to Denver. So it was 3 years in a row.
But we would lose like being completely blown out.
Just can't win in the second round, man.
Remember that?
Second round? What the fuck's the second round? We haven't fucking. There's a fucking another round to this shit, or there's actually
our second round is usually at home already. The players.
You're talking about the second vacation they take after the first one, or the NFL draft? The second. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Exactly.
funny, bro. I remember so much disappointment in that era, like of having a very good defense. And dude, they couldn't have come up with a better plan than Jay Fiedler because he lasted multiple years. I mean, they drafted some guys here and there, but like, it didn't seem like they made a legitimate, strong effort to upgrade that position.
I don't remember the salary cap implications. Maybe they had too much money, everywhere else.
And you remember who came? I think he may have come right after. Wasn't Brian Greasy when we got Brian Greasy? Like Brian Greasy played like 6 games for us, and then like we didn't re-sign him the next year or something. It was odd.
Yeah, he got injured though, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Then there was like a carousel of bums.
But why didn't we never held on to him? I don't know.
Brian Greasy? I don't think
He ended up playing better than any of the quarterbacks we had after, and we had many.
In June 2003, he signed with the Miami Dolphins. His stint with the Dolphins, where his father, Bob Greasy, played his entire 14-year career, was brief, being released February 2004. Greasy was given the starting job when the Dolphins starting quarterback Jay Fiedler got injured. Greasy had an excellent start as a Dolphin, passing for 3 touchdowns on 0 interceptions in a blowout victory against San Diego. That's it. That's all they say about him in Wikipedia. I remember him being okay, but yeah, it was very brief. And then he went to Tampa.
He was pretty good there.
He was 3-2 here. 5 TDs, 6 interceptions.
Wow.
And then he had a few years in Tampa, then a Bear, and then back to Tampa again.
Wow, I said he played 6 games. I was too optimistic. He played 5 games for us.
He started 5 games for us. Yeah, that's all he played, actually, those 5 games that he started. And he was the backup, I guess, according to this. He only played because this guy got hurt.
Wow, dude. And you're telling me that all the quarterbacks that you got after that, which were pretty terrible, the Cleo Lemons, and there was some bad quarterbacks. I'm pretty sure Brian Greasy was better than all of those.
Dante Culpeppers.
Well, except for that was trying to land the big fish, you know.
But it was just as bad as all the small little fucking tadpoles you had gotten. Yeah, it was a carousel of just bums. AJ Feely.
Is that who came after?
He is on the 2004 roster.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he threw for like 2,000 yards that year, so he was like the starter. Yeah.
That guy is known mainly for that. I think that team beat the New England Patriots on a Monday night game.
Is that where they're dressed in orange or something?
I think so.
Ayambadejo had a good game that game, if I remember correctly. Then we had Gus Farrat. Remember that guy?
I do. I remember him more as a Washington Redskin for whatever reason.
Joey Harrington.
I remember Joey Heatherton.
Mm-hmm.
What we used to call me and Milton.
Cleo Lemon.
Wow.
He lived up to his name.
It
was like every year a different bum. And then we got another bum that was going to be just like all the other ones. And luckily Brady got hurt, and luckily we did the Wildcat, and miraculously we won the division. Chad Pennington. But he was sort of the same ilk of all these other guys. Guy didn't have a good arm when he was like at his fittest and healthiest, and he was coming off like an injury, you know, and like it was really just he was taking the same role but in a different year, and somehow it worked out. But it was going to be the same shit.
Well,
so much so that he did it the next season, what he was supposed to do the first year.
I mean, they also asked so little of him physically, you know.
Yeah, we had to have that Wildcat. He wasn't going to throw us to the fucking division.
Like usually when you run those plays and you flare out like one, you know, you have like Tom Brady or like a great quarterback, and you run that play and you flare them out as wide receivers, and everybody always says, you know, what a waste taking your best player off the potential. But in Chad Pennington's case, it was by design perfectly. It would actually enhance the team.
Yeah, like the running back had a better arm in some cases back there in the Wildcat. And then came the Chad Henne years.
Out of all those people, was there a guy that you thought, even for like 10 seconds, that he might be a good quarterback?
Well, I didn't even have a chance to formulate an opinion on a lot of these guys because, as you see, now we're in the year 2010, and that's the first time that we have the same guy sort of leading the team back to back. I absolutely did not believe in Jay Fiedler at all.
Ever.
No. I realized he had a good record, but it had nothing to do with him. If you look at his numbers, they're just atrocious. That Monday night game is, to me, like kind of like that's what I remember about that guy. That Monday night Jet game that he just kept throwing interceptions and we just blew it. Tough guy, whatever. Shouldn't that guy have been a starter for so many years? I don't think so. Chad Henne, I thought, hey, maybe maybe this guy, and obviously they did too because he was there a few years. And then we had the one Matt Moore year. And then I'll be honest, I thought Tannehill could do something, but over time I realized this guy has absolutely no help either on the line, at the skill positions, coaching. I mean, he would have needed all of those things, in the right scenario, maybe he could have made something more. Carved out a nice career for himself. How did he do? He started last week, right?
No.
Oh, he's starting this week, right?
Maybe. I just think that if Tannehill would have landed, let's say, in a Mike McDaniel, run team, he probably would have ended up being a better quarterback.
Sure. But here,
I remember we had some pretty old.
He did start last week, by the way. He had 152 yards, and I believe that was a loss to Seattle.
Tannehill played last week. You're saying?
Yeah, December 24. Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah, because this kid. No, he that's how he lost the job initially, but then they gave it to this kid, and this kid got hurt, and that's why he played. I don't know if he's starting this week. But yeah, no, I never believed in most of those guys. I did see like some athleticism in Tannehill, and I just thought kind of got like that, had to run a little bit more probably. He didn't seem to do enough of that, which was like a pretty good weapon. But all right, enough about our bum quarterbacks. Let's talk about some other bum quarterbacks. Two sides of the spectrum here. One, fucking Joe Flacco, dude. Did you see him on Thursday Night Football?
I saw a couple of highlights. Yeah.
He had like 300 yards. I don't think he threw any yards in the second half, but he had like 300 in the first half. Since he started playing a few weeks ago, he has the most yardage of any quarterback in the NFL. That's pretty crazy for a guy that was sitting on the couch with his kids, with his 5 kids just a month and a half ago or whatever that was.
Yeah, that is. I think that also highlights the quarterback position and how important it is that even some increase in talent or efficiency in that position and the team overall is so much better, and that's really what happened there with Joe Flacco, right?
Yeah, you got a vet that one. I've always liked his deep ball. That's the one thing I've always said. The guy fucking throws a nice deep ball. He is sort of, I don't want to say he's mobile, but in any way or shape or form, but he is sort of sliding a little bit here and there, like Marino did in his best days. He would just sort of slide a little bit over here and like.
Yeah, but he's a guy in a phone booth usually.
Yeah, he's pretty R2D2-ish, but still.
Yeah,
he
can sidestep and he has a pocket feel, but he's not going to rip off a 14-yard run or something.
No, I'm not implying he's Fran Tarkenton or anything like that, but definitely moving around a little bit. I like their mojo, man. I like their mojo. I think that's pretty crazy. A lot of teams probably are saying, God damn it, we should have fucking got that guy. Because I think they're the only team in the mix that lost their starter. Now, how devastating do you think that the Deshaun Watson thing is for the Browns?
I think the fact that they're playing well now and heading towards the playoff takes a lot of that bad odor away. But they're gonna have to deal with it.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'm not testing you. I don't know. You might ace this one. Deshaun Watson started 6 games for the Browns before he got injured. What do you think his record was in those 6 games?
500.
He was 5-1.
Okay.
From sort of what the narrative I hear a lot about what a disastrous deal that was for the Browns and what a disappointment it was. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I mean, he was 5-1 and he got hurt. Certainly not the same as 1-5 and then you got benched. It doesn't sound like, he can't come back and be good. He did have a long layoff for an NFL quarterback that,
I think when they talk about that deal being disastrous, I'm thinking, they're definitely talking more about last year than this year. I mean, last year was pretty bad.
I don't remember what he did last year. I know it wasn't good. I just don't remember record or I guess we can look that up real quick.
And it may not be record as much as how bad he looked playing,
Yeah, a lot of rust.
Yeah.
Let's see. Deshaun Watson. What did he do last year? And he didn't play a ton of games either, right?
No, because he was hurt, right?
He played the same amount of games. He was 500 last year, 3-3. The statistics are almost identical. 1,100 yards. Last year he had 7 TDs, 5 picks. This year he had 7 TDs, 4 picks. And the quarterback rating, what was that? Quarterback rating was 79 last year, 84 this year. Speaking of other quarterbacks that teams are disappointed with, we have the whole Russell Wilson fiasco going on in Denver. Have you kept up to speed with that?
Only very high level, mostly headlines.
According to him, in their bye week, which I'm trying to look up when their bye week was, but he says that at that time, they told him that if he didn't waive the injury clause in his contract, which I guess would guarantee his money next year, that he would be benched for their fear that he might get injured, and then they'd be on the hook for and that's week 9, bro.
Oh wow. I didn't hear that.
That's what he went out and said yesterday after this whole thing went down. So as of week 9, which is just before they play the Buffalo Bills, he already knew that they were thinking about benching him, or they told him they were going to bench him. He did obviously play, and they went on a little win streak. But knowing that, I mean, they're supposedly willing to take one of the biggest dead cap hits in NFL, or the biggest. I think it's the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history to get rid of him. But the guy has like 30 touchdowns, I think, or close to it, 3,000 yards. He's got a 98 rating. I understand people say he's not overall, the numbers don't tell the whole picture with him. Overall, just his play in general is kind of disappointing. But damn, dude, it's not that easy to have a 98 rating.
No. What do you think something has happened to old Russ here, or you think he's had some bad luck? What do you think's happened there?
I think that guy was in a really good situation for himself on that team. And yeah, things changed on that team, but things are cyclical. If you're the starting quarterback for any amount of years in a team, you're going to go through some up and down rebuilding. You know, it's not going to be Mahomes is kind of he's going through like a semblance of that, and they're still kind of there in the top of the playoff picture. You know what I mean? There might be years where it's tougher than it is. And I guess he just maybe got a little too big for his britches. That trade doesn't look like it worked out really for anybody, because Locke, who was supposed to be the starter, yeah, he got him a win, but ends up being the backup. And then he goes there to Denver before Peyton. You know, there's always that scenario. That's not my guy. I wouldn't have brought that guy. You know, I guess Peyton right away didn't like him, and that relationship seems to be a little toxic.
Oh, what is the Peyton story? I don't think I know that.
Well, I mean, right away when he came in, he was like, "Hey, you got to stop kissing babies," and he was just kind of publicly talking a lot of shit everywhere, even about the Nathaniel I can't hack it guy. Remember, he was talking shit about him. He just came in hot, talking a lot of shit, and I just don't. I heard stories about Russell Wilson. He was a real douche too. Like, he had a corner office in the stadium and stuff, which is kind of unheard of for a quarterback. Just maybe that guy got a little bit too caught up in other shit other than, you know, playing football.
Right. And then you think that personality just went to Denver exactly the same, and they ran into the same problems again, this time with other people in another franchise?
Which would be worse, because at least the other guys already knew where you were going, you know, or you had already been doing this. You know, they kind of, I look at it like the Antonio Brown thing. They kept that guy pretty under wraps in Pittsburgh. You know, whatever craziness he was doing was pretty much controlled, and he was still very productive. And then that just fucking went off the rails. Every team that he went to, worse and worse almost afterwards, you know? So it may have been like he gets to Denver and he's like doing this kind of crazy shit, and people are like, what the fuck? You know, we had fucking John Elway here. You know, we had fucking Peyton Manning here. You know, they never behaved this way. We never had to put up with this shit from those guys. While John Elway is there, right? Is he still part? He's the main
I think
guy,
he
right?
has. I think he has some involvement.
Not as much as he used to.
I don't think so. I'm not sure, because they did sell that team from the Bolins to somebody else.
Some foreigners?
I'm not sure about that, but John Elway was obviously part of the previous regimes with the Bolin, when the Bolin family owned the team.
John Elway, along with former backup quarterback and head coach Gary Kubiak, are the only individuals to be associated with all three of the Broncos' Super Bowl wins. He was a consultant in 2022. He was the president in 2021. He was the GM from 2011 to 2020. So yeah, he's not involved any longer. You're right. So I don't know. They're talking about his career being over. That's fucking crazy, dude. There's no way his career's over.
I think he would still have some juice in him.
I mean, dude, with some of the quarterback play that we've seen this year, with the injuries we've seen this year, now nobody's gonna fucking pay him what he, you know, that ship has sailed. Nobody's gonna pay him what he was making.
No,
for sure.
No.
But a career over? No way, bro.
I would think no way.
No way. Now, think, and I want to see if I pull this up. I think what the scenario is, everybody's the new formula to win in the NFL, or what people want to try to do to win in the NFL, is win with that quarterback on the rookie contract, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's ideal, but that's hard to do, man.
Mm-hmm. I want to look at the salary cap and what teams have the most salary cap space.
I haven't looked at that in a while. Do you remember from looking at your research, like just off the top of your head, like the top three were?
I remember the top, and I'll show it to you right now, and it was shocking.
Of the ones that have space?
Yes. Because of how good that team is. That's what's shocking to me.
Well, but that is what a good franchise is, right?
Yeah, but just I sort of always remember teams with a lot of cap space usually being teams that kind of suck and cut a bunch of people and are getting ready to make a splash, and they're getting ready to build a team.
Yeah. There's always those teams too.
But can you see this?
Yeah.
I don't remember a Super Bowl contender being the team with the most cap space.
Yeah, that tells you that is a good organization, man.
Dude, not only are the Niners the team with the most cap space, as you can see here, 38.5 million, but I can sort this by average age, average active players' age. They're number 4 on that. So they have a lot of young guys, probably a lot of them under control, and they have space. I'm sorry, this is older. Wait a second. I'm doing this backwards. I take that back. They're one of the oldest teams in the NFL at almost 27. Look who's number 2.
Yeah, I see that.
The Dolphins are the second oldest team in the NFL.
That is pretty surprising with all of the losing you've done, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you haven't recycled that to get a young roster at least.
That's and I would assume that is a critical point in having a good franchise.
Here's the youngest teams in the NFL.
The Colts are going to be interesting.
Packers, if this Jordan Love guy figures it out, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
But the Colts, yeah, they have a nice total package there. The Rams are pretty young.
That is surprising.
Yes, but they kind of did like a purge, of all that Super Bowl buy-in that they did. Almost everybody's gone from that, right? Except the quarterback.
Right. But because they always gave up their picks, I would have thought that their team was made up of older free agents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know enough. I don't know enough if this is a lot of undrafted guys, and I just don't know. Cincinnati, very young. Dallas is very young.
Fascinating.
And, yeah, the Bears. But of these top 10 teams, Cardinals, Bengals, Cowboys are the ones that have over 10 million in cap space. But going back to this, ranking it by cap space, looking at the top 10 teams, you got 1, 2, 3. Like half these teams are playoff teams. But really the only 2 that jump out at you here is the first 2, because those 2 are playoff teams and they have over 30 million in cap space. Everybody else on this list is like, third place is 15 million. So there's a big drop off. You would think this is with the Browns giving that big contract to Watson. These teams are poised to have. Were they high on that list that you sent me of teams most poised to have like a long run or whatever that list was?
I'd have to go back to that. That I did not remember the order of those. So yeah, I don't remember that. I think Kansas City was up there, but
I'm trying to find that list you sent.
I think it was like 5-year window or something.
Yeah, let's see if we can pull that up. Oh, here we go. I got it on my phone. Ranking the next 5-year windows. I'll read it out and let's see if that sort of coincides with this list. Kansas City Chiefs are number 1, but if we're looking at cap space, I don't even know where they show up on this list. I mean, they're down there. They're 24th. So they're not really taking that too much into consideration. Sort of everybody's at the league average of 7 million, but it's just eye-popping, the Niners and the Browns. Number 2 is the Niners. And then number 3 is the Eagles. But it doesn't look like the Eagles have a lot of cap. I mean, they have even less than the Chiefs, if I'm reading this right. Yeah, they're like 30th.
Wow, so we're almost dead last.
Yeah. The Bills are number 4, but I saw them towards the bottom of this list. They're 27th. And then the Bengals are number 5, and they have the 4th most cap space. But that's Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, and Patrick Mahomes. So
I see another connection there as far as having a decent quarterback, right?
mm-hmm. It's pretty much what the NFL is, right?
Yeah.
With the exception of those super talented defenses that almost always align with a really good running back. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
It's like the perfect complement, this guy who's going to grind it out, ball control, so we're not out here that often, and when we are, we're even fresher and dominating. Think of all those dominating defenses. A lot of the times, pretty good running back.
Yeah.
Pretty good running back play. The Ravens had it. The Bears had it.
People forget that Ravens team that had such the great defense, I believe it was the same year they had Jamal Lewis rush for 2,000 yards.
Might have been. Yeah. That's the forgotten 2,000-yard year, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it, because
I don't remember the 2000 the Buccaneers Super Bowl year. The running backs, was that like Cadillac and those guys, or what was that?
What, the one with the John Gruden?
Yeah.
That was Mike Alfart.
And Warwick Dunn?
Warwick Dunn.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good fucking 1-2 punch right there.
They had another guy later, Charles something.
Charlie Garner?
Yes.
Yeah, former Raider, right? Or Eagle.
An Eagle Raider. That guy was on a bunch of teams, but tough nose, kind of could play fullback or halfback.
Yeah, pretty good out of the backfield.
Yes, very good out of the backfield.
Yeah, and that was like their third down back or whatever, or their third back. So I don't. Anyways, that was interesting to me.
the cap space.
Yes, that's pretty good. And it's also, shown in the moves, right? I remember like during the trade deadline, didn't San Francisco get Chase Young?
Yeah, crazy.
And I was saying, wow, like how'd they do that? Like they have a pretty damn good team now. You would think they're kind of strapped. No, they have a surplus. That tells you that's a pretty good fucking organization.
Mm-hmm.
Because the business side of it is even good.
Yeah, a lot of business side of things.
Especially that Russell Wilson, man. Do you remember a scenario like that
No.
before?
Can't recall one like that.
Yeah, that one was kind of interesting. All right, let's look. Let me see if I can find the spreads here. Let's look at the games coming up. Because there is no more Monday Night Football. Tonight was your de facto Monday Night Football game. Rams, Giants. How come they're not telling me the spread here? They're just giving me the over-under. All right, let me see if I can find something better than this.
So, what's your analysis of the Raven Dolphins game as you search?
It's going to be hard to beat the Ravens 2 years in a row up there. It's going to be hard for the Ravens to be caught by surprise on anything with what happened to them last year, which was, sort of the 2-and-on coming out party. Probably that's what started most of it. Like that's when, to me, that's his coming out party. That game, he has that miracle comeback. It was aided by Harbaugh and the Ravens for sure, but still, what he did was, it was crazy. And that's a very good team. That's a very good quarterback. It's going to be tough, man, especially with the weather things that you talked about. We still haven't beaten a good team on the road or a team with a winning record on the road. So it won't be easy, man. Okay, here we go. Cowboys were 5.5-point favorites here. Obviously, they did not cover. Ravens are 3-point favorites. I don't think we'll win tomorrow. You think we can pull it out?
I will say that the tool that they have that could always overcome certain situations, you go back to a puncher's chance, right? In boxing, well, in football, the speed that they have when they have it always allows you to be in a game or even win a game, right? But it's got to be perfect. And if it becomes like a physical running the football, blocking, tackling, I don't know. It could be a whole different game.
Yeah, dude. But we've put up decent running numbers in games. And I love Mostert. I think the guy's one of the biggest bargains, best signings we've done in some time for what we're getting out of him. But even the style of running is very finesse, outside, it's not like it's not like the 1991 Giants doing a drive for a quarter or whatever that was in that Super Bowl that they could just control the ball. We can't do a drive like that.
No, this running game looks a lot more like the San Francisco 49ers running game that that they've always run like for years, I guess, call it the West Coast or whatever. It's a lot of outside stuff. It's always about a back that could, run but catch the football. It's
And
that's
bust one.
yeah, it's not a like in the trenches, the guards are doing the inside blocking and trapping and all that, and you're running for 5 yards a clip in the middle of the football field.
Yeah, there's no 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
No.
Yeah, it's all very quick strike, explosive,
Timing, quick strike, speed.
very explosive offense.
Yes. A lot of motion to add to the speed because it's bad enough if you got to run with a guy foot to foot, but if he fakes you off like in the line already, forget it, And they
Yeah.
do a lot of that motion stuff to get jumps on people.
Yeah, absolutely. Then the Bills are at the Patriots. They're favored by 14. I'm not quite sure the Bills will cover that, but that's who knows. These Bills, I don't know. They've changed though. Definitely, they're not the same. I don't know what changed, but
Well, what changed was they got rid of Ken Dorsey, right? The offensive.
you think that was it? You think that just switched
Well,
everything?
well, the timing sure falls in line with it. Joe Brady started to, use James Cook more. They started to run Allen a little bit more. They started to open up that threat, and they look a little different on offense. Definitely.
Yeah.
But you know what? The Patriots still have a really good defense, dude. So I think it'll be hard for the Bills to cover the 14.
Yeah, for sure. But I expect them to win at home.
Yes.
And what'll probably be some balmy conditions that probably both of them are fine playing in them. Bears are favored by 2.5 at the Falcons. I guess the Bears are still technically alive. The Bears have an interesting scenario with Fields and that number 1 draft pick that they have from Carolina, whether they're going to get rid of Fields or flip that first pick for more picks. I guess at some point they got to start like actually doing something with those picks, right?
Yeah, and they could get even picks. I mean, Fields is still an interesting prospect that people would give, some decent picks for him still. Granted, not what he was drafted at, but he's still a pretty decent asset to move to get something for.
Yes.
So if they make that move, they really have a pretty, they may get a new quarterback and then have some additional tools to help them out and bring in more talent.
Yeah, there was some talk about Caleb Williams from USC, and then them moving on from Fields as a possible scenario. Caleb Fields did not play in his team's bowl game, which is kind of, the norm now for guys going into the draft. His backup came in and threw for 6 touchdowns in that game. I don't know if you saw, and people were saying, oh my God, it's just the system. Anybody could have done this. Obviously, I don't necessarily agree, but it was just, I don't know if that hurts your draft status at all, or I guess people just look at what you did anyways throughout your career, not necessarily that.
Yeah.
Then you got the Titans at the Texans. Texans favored by 4. I don't really know. Is Stroud playing in this game? We don't even know if he's playing. Is he?
Yeah.
And they're still alive technically, right?
I think we'd have to bring up the latest playoff picture. Yeah, I think they're right in the hunt.
Let me pull it up.
Actually, aren't they? The wild cards are the Browns and who else?
The Colts and the Bills. So in the AFC, the top seed is the Ravens. The Dolphins are the second. The Browns have clinched a playoff berth, but they're the fifth seed. The Chiefs got the third. The Jaguars got the fourth. And then it's the Bills and the Colts. And the Bills and the Colts are at 8-7. The Bills are at 9-6. The Texans and Bengals and Steelers are all at 8-7, which is the same record as the Colts. So yeah, they're very much alive in the playoff hunt. The Titans are eliminated. And then you have the Raiders and the Broncos are still technically alive at 7-8. They have one win less than the last playoff team, but there's a bunch of teams ahead of them.
That's pretty amazing.
That there's so many teams there fighting for those last spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were always in that last fucking toilet bowl of fucking turds there, seeing which one wouldn't get flushed. So I guess that's an improvement, right?
Yeah. We would just dirty the bowl but get flushed down anyways.
But I don't remember the last time we had clinched a spot this early. So we gotta, you gotta be happy for that. That's probably been a long time.
I think you need to look that up.
When's the last time the Dolphins had clinched a spot with 2 weeks remaining? Granted, we have an extra game now of late, but still, that's pretty impressive. I guess I would take the Titans based on this game actually meaning something to them. And then the next game is I guess this could mean something for the Raiders. The Raiders are technically still alive. If they win that game.
Yeah, I think all those games, both teams are in it.
All the games from here down?
Well, definitely, yeah. All Falcons, Bears, Titans, Texans, Raiders.
Falcons are still alive?
I think so.
Let's see. Let me look at the NFC here.
Actually, they may be the division winners there.
No, the Falcons are still technically alive at 7-8, but isn't Tampa?
Oh, is it Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa's. They haven't clinched, but they have the division right now at 8-7. So yeah, that game does mean something to the Falcons. Definitely not to the Titans. The Titans are out, and previously the Patriots are out. But this next game is a very important one because if the Raiders can pull that off, that would certainly knock off the Colts from the 7th seed, and the Raiders would be more in the mix, holding the tiebreaker against the Colts, I would assume, because of the head-to-head. I think that's the first tiebreaker, right?
Yeah, head-to-head.
Yeah, and the Panthers are trying to clinch the number 1 seed for the Browns in this next game at the Jaguars. Jags are favored by 6, but Sunshine is not going to be suiting up. This is going to be the first game that he misses, right?
Correct. Beathard will play.
Mm-hmm. CJ Beathard?
Beathard, yeah.
Is there a relation to Bobby Beathard?
Maybe. That's not a common name.
And I believe he's a former Niner, right?
A former a couple teams.
Yeah. Casey Jarrett Beathard. Former Niner. Actually, he's just a former Niner and Jaguar.
Couple other teams.
Drafted in 2017. He's the son of country music songwriter Casey Beathard and brother of country music singer Tucker Beathard, the grandson of former NFL executive Bobby Beathard.
Wow.
And the great nephew of former NFL quarterback Pete Beathard. Oh my God. In December 21, 2019, Beathard's younger brother Clay, the starting quarterback for the LIU Sharks, was fatally stabbed outside of a bar in Nashville, Tennessee. Jesus Christ. It's terrible.
So literally anybody that has the last name Beathard is related to Bobby Beathard.
And was a quarterback or was involved in the NFL.
in some way. The Panthers are so bad, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go Jags,
Yeah.
-3.
Yeah. I wonder if Bryce Young is going to pan out or if that guy's going to be a bust.
Man, looks very two-ish.
So you're saying he's going to gain a cult following and they're going to surround him with all his former Alabama quarterbacks and try to convince everybody that he's elite next year?
I should have been more specific. I meant his body type. Even though I think actually Tua's a little bulkier or has gotten bulkier or wears so much equipment that he looks bulkier. Yeah, their body types remind me of people that could get hurt in the NFL a lot.
Yeah, he looks pretty slender. They have him listed at 5'10", 204 pounds. I don't know.
Oh, wow. So he's probably 5'8", 192.
Soaking wet. He's 2-12. He's thrown for 2,600 yards, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and old quarterback rating of 75. Then we got the Rams Giants, and Danny DeVito is out of there. They have gone to
Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor here.
So what did Danny DeVito do?
He won a couple games.
And then he just got benched.
He got a bunch of Italians excited. He tried to rip off a mom and pop pizzeria, and then that was a kiss of death. After that, I don't think he ever recovered. Joey Cutlets.
But they benched him because of performance?
Yes. He has not been good the last couple of games.
Wow.
I would take the Rams here.
Yeah, me too.
Giants are getting 6 points, but Rams are in the mix. Cardinals are not in the mix. They're at the Eagles, 12 points. That's a pretty big spread.
The Eagles haven't played great as of late.
Yeah. I would have to take the Cardinals. Saints, Buccaneers. This game is important.
Yep.
I think the Saints are still sort of hanging on.
Bucks have to win to have, to keep control.
Yeah.
That's a division game.
Yeah, do the Saints still have a shot here? Let's see. Where are the Saints? I wonder what the future holds for Derek Carr.
I think the future has him bouncing at a couple of teams, I think.
Yeah. They're at 7-8. They got the 10th seed. The 7th seed is 8-7. So I guess, this is a lot. We got a lot of these 7 and 8 outside looking in, facing off against like 8 and 7s that are holding on for dear life. So shit could get shaken up quite a bit here.
Yeah.
Yep. Except for this next one, Niners Commanders. The Commanders are eliminated, and the Niners, I guess, are just going to try to pad on to their number 1 seed here.
What do you think about Brock Purdy?
I think that's a perfect scenario for him and them, especially if they can continue to get kind of what they've been getting out of him. I know he had that really bad game last time out, but I know a couple of those balls were either tipped or off somebody's hands, so it wasn't quite as all disastrous on him. But that game aside, man, 7th round pick, that kind of contract that he has, the cap room that they have, the talent that they already have, you can't draw it up any better than that, I don't think, if you're trying, right?
Right.
Overall, I like him. I don't think, he's Joe Montana, but, nice little scenario they have.
Not sure if they'll blow these people out by 13.5, but nice scenario overall. And then Steelers, Seahawks, both those teams are in it too. Fucking Steelers, dude. They're always fucking hanging around, dude. Always hanging around, right? Yeah. 8-7. They have the same record as the last spot there, which is the Colts. Mike Tomlin always lately just does enough to not get fired, right?
Somehow he has a kick at a particular time of the year that makes it look like, he's gotten things back on the rails for sure. But as of late, they tend to fall off again.
But he hangs his hat on that never had a losing season thing, right?
Yes.
That's like his claim to fame. Dude, I was up late last night or night before, I don't remember, and they were replaying the Super Bowl. The first one that Ben won, which was against the Seahawks, right?
Yeah, like 2005 maybe.
Yeah, with a young Ben Roethlisberger, but an old Jerome Bettis, and I guess like Bill Cowher towards, I don't know how many more years he coached after that, but I guess he had Tomlin, because Tomlin won 2 Super Bowls, but one as an assistant, right?
Yeah. I mean, the last 2 Pittsburgh Super Bowls were that they won was the Arizona and that Seattle one, right?
Yeah, the Arizona one, Tomlin was already the head coach, right, at that point?
I don't know. Was he?
Or was he an assistant for that one too?
I thought he may have been an assistant.
Huh. Let's look that up real quick.
Anyways,
see. That Super Bowl was fucking boring, dude.
Like the Seattle one?
Yeah, nobody could do anything on offense, really. Yeah, he won 1 Super Bowl and an assistant on the other one. Is the way that goes.
He was a coach of a Super Bowl?
Yes.
The
head coach. Yes, he won that Cardinal one.
I didn't realize he was the coach. Okay.
That's why he's still there, dude.
Okay.
That and they don't fire fucking coaches. What do they had? Like fucking 5 coaches in their existence? Now, wait a second. He was an assistant, but not with the Steelers. He was an assistant in the 2003, which he was a defensive back coach in the Buccaneers. So that's his assistant Super Bowl. I always...
His what?
Mike Tomlin has 2 Super Bowl rings. One as coach of the Steelers against the Cardinals,
right?
And the other one as defensive back coach of the Buccaneers in 2003.
Oh, okay.
He was never an assistant in Pittsburgh. I always mistakenly assumed that his other ring was with Pittsburgh as an assistant, but he was never an assistant there.
Came from somewhere else, or he was hired to the Steelers from somewhere else?
He was a defensive coordinator of the Vikings for 1 season, 2006. Previous to that,
and they brought him from there to be the head coach.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Why do I think this guy was homegrown in Pittsburgh?
I could have swore that I thought he was like the defensive coordinator or some sort of assistant, even dating back to the other Super Bowl, but no.
Wow, that has to be completely fabricated in my head. Because, wow.
I thought the same thing. Unless
Unless somebody
Something's
has
wrong.
edited this Wikipedia article, that's what it says here.
Wow, something is wrong.
Steelers coach 2007 to present. 2006 Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator. 2001 to 2005 Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive back coach. Previous to that, from 99 to 2000 Cincinnati defensive back coach. And then, he's in some colleges here as defensive back and wide receiver coach. So yeah. All right. I don't know. I would think this. I would take the Seahawks to win, but I don't know if they'll cover the 4. That's going to be probably a close game. Are they rolling Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, again?
I believe so.
Okay. I was wondering what happened to that guy recently. I guess he's become like their Doug Peterson backup guy that they just keep there.
Well, but they only went to him when Trubisky got hurt.
Yeah. But Doug Peterson was like our third stringer, right? A lot of the times. Or was he like our backup?
I know at some point he was our backup, but then, yeah, he may have been a third quarterback many a time.
Yeah, he may have graduated to that backup after like
a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Probably.
And then you got the Bengals at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 6.5.
What do you think is wrong with the Chiefs? Or do you think there's anything wrong with the Chiefs at all?
I mean, you've touched on it before. The more I watch them, the more I start to agree with that those receivers are just finally catching up with them. And you see some of the frustration with Mahomes. He's kind of becoming a little villain with the little hissy fits he's having against referees and teammates and stuff like that. I guess he's pissed, dude. It's not the level of play that he's used to having around him. And I think, going to 5 AFC championships in a row. Is that what it is now?
Something like that.
Yeah, you get pretty spoiled, man. Like that's the bar, dude. If you're not like, and this is probably the worst that they've looked in any of those 5 years, right? Or 6 years.
So yeah, definitely.
Just kind of become a little bit too Kelsey dependent, and anytime you try to go to these other guys, they somehow drop a pass that gets intercepted. You do a miraculous play, they line up off sides, crazy shit.
I was gonna say it's Kelsey dependent. I think Kelsey has shown decline, right?
Well, I mean, it's a tough sport. He's getting older. He's getting a lot of passes, getting a lot of hits.
And I don't think that gets hit a lot.
And I don't think that guy kind of wants to get killed anymore either that much. You know what I mean? Like, how hungry are you after you're that age, after the career you've put up, after a couple of Super Bowl rings? It's not like you're trying to get the first one and you're willing to, wait a second, dude. I need to be able to bang Taylor Swift when I get out of here. I'm not going to fucking,
Yeah, I definitely what we were saying there is the case.
The receivers?
I think it's a big factor.
And is there a failure to adjust to that?
I think the other piece to that is that they don't have. Is this their first year without Eric sleeping with the enemy?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal.
So there's some adjustment that is supposed to be going on that's not really adjusting the way that they would have hoped to adjust. It just seems like they keep trying to do the same thing. All right, they're going to start catching these eventually. They're going to, and they're not.
Well, they've thought very similar to the New England Patriots that they feel that they don't really believe in the pure star receiver set, right? Even though when they had Randy Moss, that's how he played, but
they didn't win with him though.
Exactly. But these receiver groups are basically a collection of, different kinds of skills and guys, and no one really. That Rashid Rice is pretty damn good. That's for sure.
haven't been able to get that great back. I know I like some of the things I've seen out of Pacheco, but
I almost think that guy would be so much better as like the number 2 or change of pace
Yeah.
kind of guy, like
Well, and he's been hurt the last couple. He's had 2 injuries over the last probably 4 or 5 weeks.
well,
You
and that's
know,
that's part of the picture too because they're going to him a lot, right? And I guess he's
right? And
still throwing those
not
other guys a little bit.
not really that big of a guy either. So, um, yeah,
They haven't been able to. They've definitely shored up the defense through the draft and whatnot, but they haven't
yes,
really been able to replenish the offensive skill positions through the draft. I mean, Edwards-Helaire was a first-round pick, right?
yeah.
And what is that guy like? Their third back?
Well, right now it's him and Pacheco because they lost Jared McKinnon to IR, and Pacheco got hurt again now, and they're not sure if he's going to play. And all they have is Edward Hilaire right now.
But pre-McKinnon being injured, he was playing behind them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, 3 or 4 years in, for a first-round pick, that's
that's suicide.
that's pretty bustish. That Sky Moore guy, I think he was a pretty high draft pick too, right?
Yeah, he's in his second year. This year is his second year, but I think he got hurt and he's on IR now.
The Cadaver Tony was not their pick, but he was a former first-round pick. I guess they've gotten something out of him. They got him on the cheap.
Yeah, I mean, but it sounds they play him like a gimmick.
Mhm.
They don't use him a lot. You know,
Yeah, the
um,
gimmick is dropping passes or lining up off sides in crucial moments.
right. Um, but he's a guy they traded for, actually.
Yeah. And I think they got him pretty cheap when the Giants had given him up.
Yeah, and his problem is he's explosive, but he was always hurt as a
Right.
Giant, and actually at the beginning as a cheap when he came in last year, he was hurt like I think half the season
Mhm.
until he played well in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl.
For the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I think the Chiefs will win that. I don't know if they're going to cover. They always give the Chiefs these high spreads that they have. They just seem to never want to cover them or don't cover them.
I don't even know who the quarterback that's going to replace Russell Wilson is.
I was about to ask you the same thing.
Let's see.
And the Chargers are rolling out that same guy that they've been.
Didn't stick.
Yeah.
Oh, Jared Stidham, former Patriot.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And Vegas likes him enough to have him favored by 3.5. I'll take the Chargers here, dude. What's that? What's that locker room? What do you think that locker room's like right now?
Well, and did you see the two guys that were ex-players that agreed with everything that Ryan Clark said about what's going on over there and all that shit? Became like a big crap. There's so much drama around that.
I believe Ryan Clark ripped into Peyton saying what did he say? He's not acting like a professional or something like that.
Yeah.
Since he's gotten there, basically, is what he was saying.
And then I guess he had Kareem something or other and one other guy. Grady or Randy Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those guys, ex-Denver guys, said everything that Ryan Clark said was true. And I mean, they were agreeing against the coach there big time.
Dude, if I were a fan of this team, I would be so fucking pissed that we're still alive, technically, if we were out of it and you want to do this, I can't blame you, because then we're looking at the future, right? And maybe, yes, that contract hasn't panned out, but like, while we still have a chance, you're going to bench our starting quarterback, a former, say what you will about a former Super Bowl winning quarterback, 2-time Super Bowl playing 2 Super Bowls. So what I'm trying to say here, I think that's so fucking Bush League, dude, to just fucking say, you got to ride that thing out till you can't ride it no more.
Yeah. Clear something up for me here from a timeline perspective. The old ownership is the one that did the trade for Russell Wilson, or the current ownership? Do you know that?
This is Russell's second year, right? So he was traded for in the off season, not this season, but the season before, correct?
I would think so. He played last year.
Yes, not well. On June 7, 2022, the Broncos announced that the Walton Penner team, led by Rob Walton, had entered an agreement to acquire the Broncos for $4.65 billion. Now, who are these Walton people?
I think they are related to
Walmart?
Samuel Walton.
So Walmart owns the fucking Broncos?
If it's the Sam Walton family, yes.
Yeah, This are the heirs of Rob Walton.
Yes.
So they're trying to do like a return on Russell Wilson. Let's see. So it's shocking that they would do such a big move just before a sale, right? So let's see when this sale happened. June 7th. We've established that, right? That the Broncos announced the deal. When was Russell Wilson trade?
June 7th of what?
2022.
Oh, okay.
So in March of 2022 is when he was traded. Now, I don't know the details, but if you're selling the team, either the new owner's got to be on board, or that's kind of crazy, right? To do such a big franchise altering deal at the time when something's listed for sale. That's like me listing my house for sale and then all of a sudden I'm doing fucking renovations.
There's probably rules against telling exactly what they did there. It was probably that the new ownership got together with the existing ownership and said, listen, these are the moves that I want you to make in your last, whatever, in your last time here as general manager or whatever.
Yeah. It would be interesting to know from a Broncos fan how that went down.
I guess they wouldn't be able to say that because there'd be some finagling and not tampering. I don't know what the other word is for it, but there's probably rules against that for an ownership that's not officially in to be telling another what to do or something like that. So who knows, man? What happened?
Yeah, it's odd. We have another playoff implication game here. Packers, Vikings. Vikings favored by 1. I don't know who the Vikings play at quarterback. Who do they play at quarterback? They're back to that Mullins guy?
No, they were last week. The last 2 weeks they had Mullins out there, but they're going with some guy named Hall this week.
Okay, that guy played a little bit, and then I think he got hurt as well at some point. Jesus, dude. Kind of impressive what they've been able to do with that carousel. But they're holding the 8th seed, and the Packers are holding the 9th seed. So this is kind of like the Seahawks are at 8-7. Like, who knows, dude? If the Seahawks lose and the Rams could lose, they're at 8-7. The Buccaneers are 8-7. These two teams are 7-8. This could have it has implications. Somebody's going to be closer to a playoff spot, and somebody's probably going to be eliminated or close to it after this one.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess I would take the Packers on a coin flip there.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I think that's the end of the games. Let's see. Did I have any more football notes? We've kind of looked at the playoff picture. We've kind of looked at some of these quarterback situations. What
We talked about the Finns. The last, well, it doesn't have to be the last, but sort of the last note I had was, you know how I always say how we've always talked about how polarizing Tua is.
Yeah.
Not only is Tua on the MVP, or has been at times in the MVP list, I think he's probably still pretty up there in the odds. He's also in the comeback player of the year odds. He's currently, I think, like ranked fifth, because they were talking about Joe Flacco for comeback of the year. Do you know who the front runner for comeback player of the year? Not an important award. This is more of a curiosity. You know who the front runner is for that award?
No.
DeMar Hamlin, who's I think played like 10 plays this year or something like that, mostly on special teams. I think he has 2 tackles on the year, which is obviously more for the story and whatever. But Flacco's up there. But do you ever remember a guy, this has probably never happened, a guy one year being at, I think, like more than halfway through the year, Tua was in the MVP odds, right?
Yeah.
And then the next year being the comeback player of the year odds?
No.
That can only mean you had a catastrophic ending to your season, and then, you know, you come back pretty good.
Don't you have to be good first, get hurt, and then come back to be the comeback player of the year instead of just being hurt?
Yeah, because if you were never there to begin with, what are you coming back from? Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just an up-and-comer. Hey, look at this guy. He's pretty good all of a sudden. But Tua has that interesting distinction that in 2022, he was in the MVP consideration, and in 2023, he's in the comeback player of the year consideration, which is kind of wild. That's how polarizing, not only for fans, but also for the people, whatever writers or whatever, whoever comes up with these awards. All right, you got anything else on football before we move on from the National Football League?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
All right. You got any dead people you want to talk about? I know this is your favorite subject. We can leave it for a little bit later, or we can kill it right now.
It's up to you, man. Whichever way you want to go.
Do you have some ready, or do you want to get back to that?
Yeah, I think probably we should get back to that, baby.
Okay. Pull up a list, and then we'll get back to it. The other thing I had, obviously, dude, we haven't even said this, man. Merry Christmas, hour and a half in. This is, I meant to say this at the beginning. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Happy New Year. Be safe tomorrow. Have fun. How would you sum up sort of 2022 and going into 2023 where we are, not just footballistically and just in general, the state of affairs? How would you sum it up?
Wow, that's a tough one. In just a few words, it would be difficult.
I'll give you a few of my thoughts. I sort of feel like
good.
I sort of feel like economy-wise, and you know, things have started to, you know, coming off those crazy COVID years, sort of come back to a little bit of a sense of normalcy. I understand the wars around the world, you know, are terrible and all that, and but just sort of nationally, I think, you know, at least it seems that people are, you know, out doing stuff and traveling, and
well, I think, yeah, I think that's an important thing, right? And people are careful to say this because they don't want to give, you know, the current president any credit in some cases, but
right, man, not trying to do that in any shape or form.
But the bottom line is, you know, we've been able to so far avoid a recession and
Whether it's fake or real, I don't know.
supposedly do what is often not, they always strive to do it. They call landing a soft landing instead of a recession, but I can't recall too many soft landings. Usually you're in a recession or you're not.
We may be just getting in debt up to our ass and we have to pay it off later as a country. I don't know exactly, but
well, the debt is definitely beyond
insurmountable.
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. Somebody will pay for that. Somebody's grandchildren, not us. And I look forward to that trend continuing in 2023. I really hope so. Election year coming up next year. How would you feel about doing a election night podcast next year?
From parts unknown.
Why do you say from parts unknown?
That could certainly generate some angry fans.
Well, we're just doing coverage. We don't have to be,
political.
We could be non-denominational, dude.
We could just be data people.
Yes, we could just.
These are the counts.
Yes, exactly.
Counts are these.
We don't have to be slanted. We could just have, old school journalistic. Just who's winning what? What do we got to do? What's going on? Who's winning here? That's interesting. I heard something interesting. You know that now they're trying to keep Trump off the ballot in certain, is it states or is it, states, right? They're trying to keep him
off. Because since all the elections are run by the states, each state has its own rules, and which some people say makes hard to cheat, and some people say it's perfect for cheat. I guess it depends on your point of view.
Depends who you're rooting for.
Yeah. But I believe they've taken them off Maine and Colorado now, but I am pretty sure that's going to go to the Supreme Court.
Now, do you know when is the last time that was done?
No.
Honest Abraham Lincoln was kept off the ballot. And
on his re-election, I am sure.
And then after that, shortly after, was the Civil War. Right?
That makes sense.
We hope that's not the case this time, but let's see. It should be interesting. That's pretty much it. It's going to be these two guys for a third time.
What 70% of people don't want.
Right. This is that boxing rematch where the first one, whatever. The second one, nobody really wanted the second one anyways, but now the other guy won, and they're going to give you the third one whether you want it or not, Speaking of boxing.
Oh, wow. Sorry, just got an alert. Raheem Mostert is not expected to play Sunday against the Ravens.
Raheem won't start, is what you're saying.
Raheem won't start.
Yeah. Dude, for sure we're losing. For sure.
Mostert is not expected to play Sunday against the Ravens.
At this point, they'll sit Tyreek Hill and they'll build in the excuse for 2-on. Hey, man, couldn't win. He didn't have his guys, dude. I don't know whose voice I'm doing, but that's how they talk.
It's a character from a 1933 thriller.
You see, he couldn't start the game, you see? We would have had him. We had him right where we wanted him, you see? Boy, I oughta. But it's built in, right? The built-in excuse. We're getting ready to go up to Baltimore and take them for all they're worth up there. Now I turned into one of the Kennedys. This great nation, indivisible, under God, We have to take back. The bum has left the room.
I've almost had a heart attack.
Fucking
That
damn
was
Vax,
funny.
bro.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're not gonna win that game, bro. But
But
anyway,
wait a minute.
yeah.
What I was gonna say before you made me laugh uncontrollably is wait, I got a new.
Listen here, we got a new update here.
But seriously,
What's on the wire? What'd you get?
no, that was something.
That was your wife telling you to keep it down.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What I was saying is like, I didn't hear all week that he was having problems.
That one's new to me. Yeah.
Is that one of those like he got arrested or he's in jail or
Oh,
something?
they didn't say why? I thought you said it was some sort of injury.
I didn't read the details.
Come on, hot off the presses, dude.
I just saw the news flash.
That's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt.
But who do you have? Well, you're gonna have to go with a chain, right? Or
And Wilson.
Gary Wilson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I was gonna go to boxing while we were talking about the repeat Trump fucking Biden thing. There was a pretty big card on the 23rd. They called it Day of Reckoning, and Deontay Wilder was facing Joseph Parker, and if he won, he was gonna face Joshua in March. That was Anthony Joshua was facing Wallen, and Wallen lost to Joshua, but then Deontay Wilder got upset by Joseph Parker, and they fucked all that shit up. So the heavyweight boxing division right now, which was looking promising a few years ago, looks like it's ready for a whole fucking reboot now with all the contenders, because all these, even Tyson Fury, who has the belt, is kind of like not looking that great. He almost lost to a UFC fighter earlier this year, even though that's going to be a big fight next year against the Ukrainian guy. But that was disappointing. So before we get to the dead people, you watched the Von Erichs documentary, Dark Side of the Ring. Did you get to finish watching that?
Yes. I don't know if there are multiple parts, but I did finish seeing what I pulled up.
At the end of it, they sort of talk to the last remaining guy, and he's in Hawaii, and they sort of talk to him, and they show him.
Kevin Von Erich is kind of like being interviewed through the whole span of the doc, the one I saw.
Yeah, and they sort of talk about his kids who have taken up the mantle and stuff like that. Yeah, that's definitely the end of it, and that's definitely the one I watched. Now, have you watched, or you're gonna watch the Iron Claw, which is like the movie? It's gonna be the movie version of that, basically.
Yeah, the reason I started to look at the real thing is because I know that movie's coming, and I figure that's going to be a little bit more Hollywoodized, if that's a word. So I wanted to hear about the real story and what happened before I saw that, just to kind of understand it. Because, I saw those guys. At that time, but I didn't know all of that history.
Sure, I wanted to ask you about that. If what you remember watching as a fan at that time. The movie, by the way, I haven't seen it. I would like to watch it. I'll probably wait for it to stream. I guess it's a movie release. It's right now. You got to go watch it in the movies. It's out, and they're already saying that it's like one of the top 10 movies of the year, which I don't know what that says for movies or what, but they're saying it's highly rated. I've read some articles from Sports Illustrated people and stuff that are really what Sports Illustrated anyways, but that were really impressed, and it's like a must watch. But first, what do you remember of those guys pre-documentary, just from the days of you watching wrestling as a kid or whatever?
Say that again.
Sort of, what do you remember watching of these guys as a kid when you were into wrestling at that time?
What I remember them being more bad guys usually when I was growing up. I saw that they were super famous and all that, but Um, I always, growing up, I think there were always villains, I think, for the most part.
I remember watching them. I didn't catch the beginning of this, but that was the regional time when they were really into it, and their father Fritz had the Texas territory, and that's sort of where they became big. But that's before my time, and I think they sent one of the brothers out to the Florida territory, which is the one we would have watched more, and he was a heel when he went there, but they sort of sent him there to like kind of work on the craft a little bit more, because back in those days, you could have been very well known in your region, and then they sent you to the other region. Nobody really knows who you are. You could have had a completely different gimmick. You could have been a baby face in your home territory and gone and worked as a heel over there or whatever. Like at least the first few times they sent you, nobody really knew who you were. But dude, what a fucking tragic. It reminds me of the Kennedys almost, in a way, like the
it's
curse.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I had to look it up. So there was the first kid who died in some sort of tragic accident. He got electrocuted and he landed in a puddle face first and drowned.
Yes.
And then there was the initial run where they would wrestle against the Freebirds. You remember the fabulous Freebirds, right?
Yep, I do.
Michael P.S. Hayes, Buddy Rogers, and what was the other guy's name?
I was impressed you named the other two.
Gordon, Gordy. I don't remember the. You don't remember? These are all before my time. I saw Michael P.S. Hayes a lot, but you got to remember, when I watched these guys, it was towards the end of their career, and like they kind of signed on with WWF at the time, and they were like more on their own, as not really part of a faction. Michael P.S. Hayes, Buddy Roberts, and Terry Gordy. Jimmy Garvin was part of the thing, and they were from Bad Street, USA, if you remember. That was sort of like, they don't even do that shit anymore. That was like their running feud for the 6-man tag championships. And then they had one brother who died in Japan, and they said that probably one of the wrestlers went in and got rid of the drugs, but it was probably like a drug overdose. And then when that guy died, they brought in another one of the brothers who didn't really want to be involved in the wrestling side. He wanted to be like a cameraman guy. He wanted to be a behind the scenes guy in the company. And then he went in to sort of, they wanted to keep it going. They were so huge. And then he ended up like ODing on some pills or something. And then they brought in a little brother. And I don't think this little brother's included in the movie, because I guess it was too many fucking tragedies. It was sort of repetitive to have it in the movie. I read that they didn't even put this guy in the movie. He was like a little brother that was like kind of a short, undersized guy.
Yeah, Mike, I think.
Yeah. And he really loved wrestling. That's the only reason he did it. But he had like brittle bones, besides the small stature, and he was always getting hurt. But he tried to do it, and then he just couldn't do it, and he ends up killing himself for, they say, just feeling so bad that he couldn't pull through for the family. And then you have Kerry Von Erich, which is like the most famous. The guy looked like a damn Adonis. Kerry Von Erich was very athletic, and he was the barefoot one. You remember, always barefoot, and had like the scissor hold, and they all used the iron claw. That was like the family move. But Kerry Von Erich was just like a fucking Adonis. That guy, I didn't even know this till later. He lost like part of his foot in a motorcycle accident.
I didn't know that either.
And this happened when he was getting signed to WWE, and they kept that secret so he wouldn't lose his money. And he wrestled with like a special foot / boot on there. I assume it was very painful for him to do that, and I don't think anybody noticed. He was more like a power guy, the Texas Tornado. I remember watching that guy in WWF / WWE. He ends up killing himself too. And then the last remaining one was Carrie, who's still alive. But Jesus Christ, dude. What a fucking tragic. I don't know when the old man died. Do you ever remember watching him wrestle?
Fritz? No.
Yeah.
Definitely, I don't remember that.
His whole gimmick.
I may not admit it if I did.
He was like a Russian or a German, right?
A German, like they called him the Nazi.
Yeah, that was his gimmick, but he kept the name. And they said part of the curse was that he kept the name after all the bad things happened. Like he legally changed a lot of their names and shit to Von Erich. But it looks like a cool movie. I'll try to watch it. What'd you learn that was sort of shocking from that?
I guess it'll be interesting to see how the Hollywood one or the movie that they're making, because a lot of those movies tend to focus on something that has a formulaic movie type, right? Like they focus on the love story and they make it a love story while they just happen to tell the story of the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, from what I read, they focus sort of on the curse.
Right. So if that's the case, that may be a little bit more interesting. Because a lot of times those movies, they try to make them about something else instead of trying to tell the story,
Yeah, I just think probably the wrestling world is just fucking wild, dude. Have you watched any of those other Dark Side of the Ring documentaries?
I think I have, yeah.
They're all wild, dude. They're all wild fucking stories of crazy fucking shit. That whole world's always been just a little bit. NFL football is just a little bit less crazy, but wrestling's pretty fucking wild, dude, with all the shit that goes on. Check. Can you hear me, Bum?
I can.
Okay. I thought I turned off my headset. Yeah, there's one like, do you remember Fabulous Moolah?
Sorry, I got a work text. The Fabulous Moolah, yes, I do remember that.
What do you remember about her?
You said her.
Yeah, the Fabulous Moolah was a lady.
Okay, no, then I don't know who you're talking about.
I only remember her.
I could have swore that was a guy that used to dress up like in chaps. Now that probably doesn't narrow it down enough.
That sounds like half the wrestlers from the 80s, bro. That sounds like the Funks.
Exactly.
Fabulous Moolah was an old lady when I saw her.
No, definitely not who I was thinking about.
And they would bring her out sometimes at WrestleMania and have her wrestle like an old lady. And she was kind of like, it was kind of like cute or whatever, to see this old lady wrestling, and stuff like that. And the episode kind of revolves around her career and like how she used to deal with the women wrestlers. She had like sort of the wrestling school and she would train them and they would live in a house, but she would like fucking have them like slaves and even pimp them out to the wrestlers and shit like that, dude. It was really fucking nasty and gritty, dude. Totally different than like the shit you see on screen, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I believe they had one on Hulk Hogan. They had one on Macho Man. I think they had one on the Montreal Screwjob. They had a bunch of.
I thought I seen one of Andre the Giant.
I think they had one for Andre the Giant.
I saw a documentary on his that was not part of this that was really good too. I think it was an ESPN one.
I saw the HBO one that was very good.
Okay, that's the one I'm thinking of. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. They had one on Bruiser Brody.
That guy's somehow related to the Von Erichs somehow, not family wise, but there was a story of them intersecting or something.
Well, he died young, just like them. That guy got killed in the locker room in Puerto Rico, and the episode kind of revolves around that and who did it. And Abdullah the Butcher's featured prominently in that episode. They kind of implied that he might have something to do with it. Just fucking crazy shit. All right, Bum, you got the dead people other than the Von Erichs and Bruiser Brody?
Um,
I can start tossing you a couple.
Not specifically. I mean, the one that comes to mind is the one that I saw, I think it was yesterday, which was Tom Wilkinson, who has been in a few recent movies, but that was the main one that came to mind. There's been a lot of other people, obviously.
We could do like a year in review on this one. This guy you just mentioned, he was in Batman Begins.
Yes, he was something Frank Calzone.
Yeah, not Frank Caliendo. That's somebody else. Was he like a mob guy in the movie?
Like a mob guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you taking your pants off?
No. This is my scarf, and the dog was eating it.
Okay.
This is not my OnlyFans page. I don't do that here. This is free, and for the children. Let's just say 2023. Who died in 2023? Matthew Perry.
Oh, you mean going all back? I thought you meant maybe recently.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I started there, but we're struggling. I said, Jose, we could just do a year in review on this.
Memoriam. I mean, we had Tina Turner, Matthew
Tina
Perry.
Turner, man. What's love got to do? Got to do.
Yeah. Who else? We had Rosalind Carter recently.
Who is Rosalind Carter?
Jimmy Carter's wife, the first lady of the United States.
Obviously. Rest in peace. Yes. He's still kicking, right?
He is. Surprisingly.
Yes. I heard, like earlier in the year, they put him in hospice, right?
Amazing.
What does that mean, basically? Like, hey, that's it. We can't do nothing for you.
Well, we're only going to keep you comfortable enough, but there's not going to be any extraordinary efforts to keep you alive.
I mean, we had a lot of athletes that passed. Burt Bacharach.
Tim Wakefield.
Former knuckleballer.
Yeah.
Maybe the last prominent knuckleballer. Former tight end of the Niners, Russ Francis, passed.
Norman Lear.
Who's that?
The creator of All in the Family and the Jeffersons and a bunch of those groundbreaking TV shows.
I thought you were going to say racist shows. Okay.
Buddy. We also lost Sandra Day O'Connor, first woman on the Supreme Court. Henry Kissinger. Yes.
Would you say he's a great American?
It depends which way your politics hang. A lot of people thought he was a great advisor in international politics, but Others say he was a monster, that kept the Vietnam War running longer than it should have.
Depends who you ask.
It depends who you ask.
Bob Barker.
Bob, make sure you spay your dogs and cats, neuter them in nudity. Yeah.
In nudity. Dogs are always naked, dude.
Who else?
Harry Belafonte.
Harry Belafonte.
Yeah.
Suzanne Summers.
96 years old.
Diane Feinstein.
Damn, dude. Tony Bennett. I get him confused with Burt Bacharach.
Dick Butkus.
The monster of the Midway, dude.
Brooks Robinson.
Now, fucking Dick Butkus, dude. He looked pretty vibrant still, man. The times that I saw him in recent years. Suzanne Summers? What?
Suzanne Summers, Diane Feinstein, Jimmy Buffett.
Wow, dude.
Pee Wee Herman.
Paul Rubes, dude.
Alan Arkin.
Who's Alan Arkin?
Seen him. He
Who
was
is he?
in Little Miss Sunshine. You ever seen that movie?
I did see that movie, but I don't remember. Oh, the old guy.
He's the old guy.
Yeah, you always easy to say the old guy. The grandfather.
Yeah.
He has a very funny thing when he talks to the kid in the back about girls and stuff.
Absolutely. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Jim Brown, dude.
Jim Brown, Sinead O'Connor. Daniel Ellsberg, The Pentagon Papers. The Iron Sheik.
Oh, shit. Back to wrestling.
Roger Craig, not the running back from San Francisco, but the manager of the San Francisco Giants.
Michael Lerner.
Who is he again?
Like a character actor.
Back to wrestling here. Terry Funk.
Robert Blake.
Is he the one who killed his wife?
Supposedly.
Allegedly.
Tom Sizemore.
I didn't know that. Or maybe I did and I forgot.
Raquel Welch.
She was
Richard
hot
Belzer.
at one time.
Richard Belzer.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah. Comedian, stand-up comedian, floppy ears, tall, is on all those victims shows. What do you call those?
CSI or whatever.
CSI, Law and Order. Tim McCarver.
Wow, Tim McCarver.
I always like listening to Tim McCarver on the call. A little corny, a little
to layman's terms sometimes, but you know, solid baseball guy.
got a hockey guy here, Bobby Hull.
Bobby Hull.
Yeah.
Billy Packer.
Who's Billy Packer?
Billy Packer was a coach, college basketball, I believe, and was a longtime analyst for CBS for their March Madness coverage.
Well, I'll have to give you Bobby Knight then.
That would be correct, Bobby Knight.
Yeah. What do you think about Bobby Knight? You like his coaching style?
It's had its place, right?
It won't fly today. Can you imagine?
David Crosby. Always thought that guy looked like a walrus.
Who was he?
Crosby, Stills, and Nash. The band.
Okay.
Lisa Marie Presley.
Yeah, dude.
Adam Rich. Jeff Beck. Julian Sands. Oh, another wrestler, Jay Briscoe.
Wow, one of the Briscoes.
That was like a one of those wrestling families, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Briscoes.
Conrad Dobler.
Robbie Knievel.
That's Evil Knievel's son, who sort of took up the mantle. And he
Wow.
wasn't like particularly. He was 32, 55. What year were you born?
68.
Same year. Of course, this guy did death-defying stunts that broke almost every bone in his body, so he's got more mileage, but not like super old. But I guess for that profession, that's you've been through the ringer.
Yeah. I would say so.
Gordon Lightfoot.
If I could read your mind.
And tragically, Ryan Mallett, former quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
One of the Brady backups.
Yes. At one point, Miami ridiculed for not drafting him.
Mark Margolis,
Oh, that's Hector Salamanca.
also in Scarface. I said no fucking kids, man.
Alberto.
Look at you now. Sandra Day O'Connor. You said her name, but they have her here as Sandra.
Oh no, that's somebody else. Sorry, this list is in alphabetical order. Who's Sandra Day O'Connor?
Justice on the U.S.
Yes.
I thought those were the same people. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're
No
getting
relation.
you're getting too cold out there. You're starting to brain freeze.
No relation. No relation. Bro, the refrigerator, dude. Did you know that one?
The refrigerator died?
William Perry.
He died?
Yeah.
I just saw a documentary on the Bears, and he was prominently featured on it.
What do you think about them not giving the carry to Walter Payton in the Super Bowl? And they let the refrigerator score one from a yard out.
I don't know. That was such a big thing of that year when they would come out with that guy and giving him a Super Bowl touchdown, I guess, put a cap on that. I think is that the biggest blowout? Or no, or that's the San Francisco 49ers Denver game.
Yeah.
What was that, like 55-10 or something?
You know, they interviewed a lot of the guys on the team, including Refrigerator, on that, and obviously not Peyton because he had passed already, even though this was an older documentary. But the Fridge was like, hey, we won the game. You know, that's what we wanted to do. He didn't get the carry, you know, big deal. We won the game. You know, that we did what we wanted to do. He was a big part of it. And then there was some other guys on the team that were like, you know, how the hell are you not going to give this guy, you know, the ball when he's done so much for his franchise? You know, he went through some lean years there, right, earlier in his career, and he was sort of a vet, you know, almost towards the end at this point. And like Ditka even apologized. He was like, man, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even notice that, you know, but I'm sorry. I wish, you know, if I had it to do it again, you know, I would definitely, you know, give him the carry. But I don't know. I kind of agreed that, like, hey, we won the game. You know, what's the big? Nobody's thinking, man, Walter Payton was great, but you know, he never scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, dude. You know.
Yeah.
Like I never thought that. I always thought that guy was like top five for you all time. Would you say?
Yeah.
I mean, some people argue, you know, even higher. What's your top five off the top of your head? Rapid fire.
Of running backs all time?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, obviously, I would include Jim Brown, Walter Payton,
Barry
those
Sanders.
Barry Sanders. You'd have to throw Emmett there just because. I mean, how could you keep him out?
I don't know if I have him in my top 5. I like Tomlinson more.
Okay, well, if you talk about like running backs, I'd like to have in my franchise or that had a full skill set versus others that didn't. But he checks the record numbers and he checks the Super Bowl championships.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to diminish his company. He definitely has the best resume probably as far as all those things go.
And certainly I was not a fan per se.
Oh my God, I fucking despise that fucking time and era and team, and
But
I I rejoice in all their failures today.
For me, that whole time was pretty much flopping between hating the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s later.
Well, what I found is I have a lot of hate in my heart, and it started with the Niners.
From the first game I ever remember watching as a kid, which was the Niners beating the Dolphins, and I didn't even know what the hell was going on. But do you remember the atmosphere at the time? I just remember being out with my parents. We're relatively new in the country. This is what, 1984?
85 is when the game was played.
84 season. The game was played in 85. So we had been here 7 to 8 years. And I just remember being out on the street. Everybody's honking their horns, everywhere on the streets. People are going. We were just caught up in that, right? We just happened to be in the street right after the game. And I just remember this chaos, that I had never seen. Frankly, I've never seen it again. Just everybody out honking in the streets and like everybody watching this game, whether you had nobody in my house to this day has probably gotten together and watched a football game like that, like my parents were watching the game. I remember sitting in the living room of the apartment that we lived in and we're watching the game, and I'm trying to, all I know is math, and how much we're down, and I figured out what a field goal was, and it's only worth 3 points, and it's not quite enough to get us back in the game. And I remember being shocked the next day in school that nobody was talking about it. I thought the teacher would talk about it, like we would all talk about it, like nobody even mentioned it. And I was like, oh my God. What the fuck?
That's weird.
Yeah, what's wrong with these fucking people?
Yeah, I have to say I did get to enjoy, the 82 and then the 85 Super Bowl, but just from the sense of winning the AFC Championship and going to a Super Bowl only to lose in the Super Bowl. But it's certainly exciting, needless to say.
Yeah. So I hated those guys. And then it shifted to hating the Cowboys. And I didn't quite hate the Steve Young Niners as much as I hated the Montana Niners. Mainly because, Montana was not only the one responsible for the Dolphins, but you had to watch that guy win like a fucking few more afterwards, while we couldn't even get back to one.
I did like, just to be clear, I did like the 70s Cowboys that were the main opponent of the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that's the team that I hated at that time was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I've always peripherally hated them, even though I wasn't into football in the 70s. I've retroactively hated that team as well.
So the Cowboys were usually the team that was, they played twice in the Super Bowl, actually 3 times. So a lot of times they were the team that could stop them.
Yeah, but Staubach was out there today. Like, that guy's like an American fucking hero, dude, basically.
Yeah.
How can you not fucking like that guy?
But
he was a Cowboy.
And then, of course, it shifted to whenever there was a fucking dynasty that was just fucking so dominating, I ended up hating them. Which eventually became the fucking Patriots.
Well, and there was a stint there with the Buffalo Bills too. And you know what sucks about hating the Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys for me was that there were a lot of players that I had cheered for and that I liked. And it was tough because in any case, that would have been a great situation where all of those former players ended up on one team and you could root for them. But it was a complete opposite for me.
Yeah. The Bills went sort of like from hating them to you felt sorry for them, with the 4 consecutive losses. But I saw that documentary too recently I did a lot of 30 for 30 shit. Dude, it's super impressive what they did. Nobody's done that. Nobody's been to 4 in a row, lose, whatever. But like what's the most, 3 in a row besides them?
3 in a row.
Yeah, not even the Patriots did that. Not even the Niners. Dolphins got close, but we didn't do it either.
No, the Dolphins did 3 in a row.
Well, not the 4 in a row, I'm saying.
No, not 4 in a row.
They got close to it.
Yeah.
If it's not for the Sea of Hands, they do it, right?
Yeah.
Which the Sea of Hands was the end.
Actually, you know what? I think the conference championship would have been next.
Oh, really? They would have had, but that was sort of the end of the run, right?
The 74 team was, yeah.
Yeah, like they got sort of dismantled.
Yeah, that team lasted 4 years and went to 3 straight Super Bowls.
I saw that one too. They called it the Perfect Machine or something like that, and it was cool. I learned that Shula had a stake in the team. That was part of the contract. I didn't know that. And then they talked to the 3rd string quarterback, which I never knew who the fuck he was, and I already forgot his name. But he was sort of the 3rd stringer throughout that whole time. What a great team, especially the fucking wherewithal to fucking make sure you have a fucking solid vet backup in case of any trouble. Just
in case your quarterback breaks his ankle in the beginning of the season, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, just the perfect. And I think really a fucking sign of a staple of Shula's career. Everybody talks about the wins, Super Bowl appearances, but always had a serviceable backup. Like it wasn't, oh, we're fucked.
No. In fact, there were many that kept a playoff run going.
Yeah. Yeah. In multiple eras. Strock was another fucking solid one they had.
Yeah.
Mitchell.
They had a Scott Secules for a while.
That guy was like a perennial Marino backup.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, he would even, you remember Crash Jensen? He was drafted as a backup, and then when they figured out there's no way you're going to fucking play, they recreated that guy into sort of an innovator of that position.
I remember the preseason watching Jim Jensen trying out as quarterback and playing, snaps in the preseason as quarterback and nothing else. I remember that. And then later, not much later, but they saw that the guy had that attitude of, just has to be, he's a football player, has to be on the football field. And they recognize that.
Solid roster position player to have, because in an emergency you had the emergency quarterback there, but fucking made himself a very good third down. Is he the first third down back?
I wouldn't say that.
No.
Maybe I guess maybe you could say of what the first modern definition of that of third down back.
Because he rarely ran the ball, but he was always lined up in the backfield, sort of H-back or whatever. Caught a
Yeah.
lot of passes, but
Yep.
primarily on third down. Oddity in that he wore number 11, which is a quarterback number, but still played that position.
Yeah.
He was out at the stadium the other day. Old Crash Jensen. I would get that jersey if I found it. I'm looking that up. Who's the first third round back? They don't really have a. Let's see. Who was the first third down back? No. Maybe
They always had the third down back, didn't they?
the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it seems like when they went away from that, they never had it again, you know. But it was there was Crash. Before that, there was Tony Nathan. Later, Tony Page,
Mm-hmm.
Keith Byers,
Mhm.
Terry Kirby.
Yes, very good receiver.
Super fast.
I don't know who the first third down back was. Of course, you always had great all down backs, you know. That's really, I guess that's probably really what you want. Okay, I found something here. Do you know who Preston Pearson is?
Yes. One of
They
the great number 88s for the Cowboys.
No, you're thinking that's a different. That's Pearson. Is that Preston Pearson?
There was a Drew Pearson and a Preston Pearson.
Yeah, this Preston Pearson, they call him the original third down back.
Oh, okay.
Let me read this.
Never mind then.
Known as the player who defined the role of third down back, Preston Pearson enjoyed a long NFL career despite limited but unique physical abilities. He became a crucial team member and adjusted his skills to what team required. As a student of the game and rigorous trainer, he was able to outsmart and consequently outplay several of his defensive opponents. Known for his time with the Cowboys, I guess this is the same guy you're talking about. The third down back, a pass receiver whose role it was to work underneath the defense and make the first down as an outlet receiver. Is this the same guy?
I remember Preston Pearson being more of a receiver, not a running back. Now I'm confused.
The Colts first tried him at defensive back where he languished on the taxi squad. His value began to show through as he excelled on special teams and as a kick returner. In 1968, he led the league in kick return yardage, which included a 102-yard kick return. He started to play running back and was named captain of the Colts special teams. He was traded to the Steelers in 70 and became a starter by 71. Was the second leading rusher on the team with 605 yards. An injury forced him out in 1972, allowing an opportunity for future Hall of Famer Franco Harris in that role. Tom Landry began using him as a receiver out of the backfield on third downs, and he was so effective, this became more important than his running back or kick return duties. As the second leading rusher on the Cowboys in 1975, he faced the ultimate challenge from Heisman winner Tony Dorsett. He only held off the future Hall of Famer for 9 games as Dorsett ran away with the Rookie of the Year honors. Cowboys won Super Bowl that season with the arrival of Dorsett. Pearson's future role as a receiver became more defined and vital. So I guess this is the same guy, but he started off as a third down back guy.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that about that guy. I knew him more as just a receiver.
and he's recent Hall of Fame, right? Not like in the last few years.
Well, Drew Pearson, I think, made
Oh,
that's a little confusing there. They had two Pearsons.
oh, wow! I'm so confused.
Drew Pearson, I think, made the Hall of Fame maybe in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so Drew Pearson is the
Number 88.
from 73 to 83. And I guess he played with this Preston Pearson.
I would think so.
Preston Pearson was a Cowboy from 75 to 80. Oh, wow. Well, they call that guy the original third down back.
Wow. What are the chances of that?
What are the odds? So that's the original third down back. All right. I don't even know where we're going with that. We're talking about teams I hate, and we went off on a tangent there for
Yes.
Crash Jensen and third down backs. But I think it all started with I hated the Niners, then later I hated the Cowboys, and then later I hated the fucking Patriots. And now I just think I hate the Dolphins, dude. Is I think where I'm at.
Even though once I started to hate the Patriots, I realized that maybe all those other teams that I used to think I hated, I didn't really hate that bad.
Yeah, there was like a new level.
Yeah.
That was unlocked. Now they're terrible. It's all cyclical.
I hope I never hate a team again that much.
No,
Because that probably means they're killing me.
that run was way too long.
You think this guy retires or moves on to another team or stays with this team?
Who are you talking about?
Bellabum?
Well, the talk is Chargers, right? That they kept saying. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard for me to believe outside, but I guess within that franchise and that old man, used to winning so much and wanting to continue to win. I don't know what's going on inside there. It's hard. It's always hard for me to believe that you get rid of somebody who won,
I guess
6 Super Bowls.
Things get lost in the fact that the guy's been coaching there a long time, and suddenly people forget, that he won like a bazillion games and how many championships. But at the end of the day, don't you have to look at the franchise and say, okay, there should be 1 or 2 or 3 players that are just amazing that we're going to be building around. And there's hope for the future. We just need to build around this and build, to grow it, right? Off that core. Like, when you look at the Patriots, who are those players? And when the answer is, I don't know, then that has to speak that the people that have been in charge there haven't been able to acquire any real talent.
Which is Bill Belichick. I mean, that corner looked promising, and then he got hurt. The Colombian kid.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, he's not been able to keep it together there post Brady. We'll see. I don't know. It's just odd to hear about a 6-time Super Bowl champion getting ousted. It's so hard to understand that. All right, let me see if anybody else died before we get out of here. Important. Lance Reddick, did you mention him?
I did not. I didn't go through. I just handpicked a few.
Willis Reed.
Yep.
Brooks Robinson.
I mentioned him.
Okay. Wyndham Rotunda. I guess this is a son of one of the of the other Rotundas. Tom Sizemore, you mentioned. Suzanne Summers, you mentioned. Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer. Terry Funk. William Friedkin.
The DNA results say you are not the father.
You know who William Friedkin is, right?
No, who the freaking is that?
You're The Exorcist.
The priest?
The guy, the director.
Oh, wow. Okay. What else was he known for?
Either The French Connection, another major movie, or The French Connection, or the other kind of famous from that time. I'm trying to think of the name. But yeah,
North by Northwest.
French Connection and Exorcist. Those,
Yeah, those are two pretty big ones.
yeah.
All right, well, you got anything else?
No.
That pretty much covers it.
I think we got to rest to be fresh tomorrow.
Oh yeah, big night tomorrow, New Year's Eve. Dolphin game.
Dolphin game. I'm glad that game is early in the day and it's not going to interfere with any activities later.
Early in the day that you could recover from the tragedies.
Yes.
You can cry yourself to a nap and then still show up at the party, dying inside, but slamming down a few to forget the pain.
Or it could be the opposite. We win and then we're just heckled by Matt.
We have to listen to Manny
and Anthony.
We'll get there, and Manny will be carving up Tua's Hall of Fame fucking plaque out of a solid bronze block. Do you carve block? No, I don't. Bronze? No, I don't think you carve bronze. But he'll have some sort of altar, I'm sure.
There'll be small children being cooked.
Yeah, I'll have a fucking effigy of him in my backyard if they lose tomorrow. Well, they're gonna fucking lose. Who am I kidding? Or they could win. He's proven me wrong a lot of times. He's proven us wrong plenty of times this year. I don't really think him. He hasn't been that good the last fucking couple months, if you look at the numbers. And the offense in general. I don't put it all on him.
Well, and this is when you have to start heating up.
Yes. This is the time to get hot. Anybody could get hot right now, and who's hot?
The Cleveland Browns.
The Browns are hot. The Bills are hot.
The Bills are hot.
The Ravens are the Ravens hot?
The Ravens are hot.
Who's hot in the NFC? Nobody's really hot, right?
The Rams.
Tampa. Nobody of consequence is hot. Like the top teams are all kind of. Yeah, the Niners had their crap. The Cowboys won tonight, but they kind of been, whatever. The Eagles have been on the whatever, I still kind of, I would guess it's going to be the Ravens and the Niners. If I put a gun to your head and you got to give me the Super Bowl matchup, who are you giving me?
On paper, analyzing everything we've seen up to thus far, I would say I could see where Ravens 49ers makes perfect sense on everything on paper. There's going to be possibly an upset or something, right?
Sure.
But if I wanted to go a little darker, I'd probably say the Bills and the Niners.
Could you see the Browns somehow making it?
Yeah.
Like, who would they not match up well?
Mainly because, again, when you have like a veteran quarterback at this time of the year, that magnifies itself immensely.
Well, matched up with an elite defense on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, if he's quarterbacking, who am I kidding? All these teams have really good defenses, really, right? Who's the best team with the weakest defense out of these Super Bowl contenders?
Probably Miami or Buffalo at this point, right?
Yeah, but they're not necessarily, I wouldn't consider them weak, right? Dolphins defense has been playing pretty well of late.
Yeah.
Good enough to win.
with decent offense.
I mean, what have they given up?
Well, if you had to pick the worst defensive teams, what would they be?
Just
Of
in the
the no, of the playoff contenders.
I don't know. That's hard to say because the
I mean,
Cowboys.
they're all pretty good.
Yeah, the Cowboys are pretty good. The
but
Chiefs
if you
are
had to
decent.
if you had to pick some, which ones would they be? That's it. That's why the Dolphins, the Dolphins and the Bills sounded so ridiculous because they're still pretty good. But if you have to pick somebody,
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I guess what I was saying is, let's see, what have they gave up 20 to the Cowboys. They shut out the Jets. The Titans 28. To me, that one's kind of deceiving because those last two touchdowns in the last 3 minutes, I just hated the defensive play calling. But yeah, it's 28 points. 15 to the Commanders, 13 to the Jets, 13 to the Raiders. The Chiefs game, we gave up 21. Wasn't one of those a defensive score?
yeah, it was a fumble, scoop and score, right?
Yeah, so really they gave up 14 there, 17 to the Patriots. And then, the Eagles is the last time that I thought they were not good. 31. The tush push killed them. Was there a defensive score in that game too? I don't know. I think they've been good enough to win since that Eagles game. But we'll see what happens. Maybe it's 2 a time tomorrow. Who knows?
All right, bum.
Happy New Year. Everybody
Happy New
out
Year
there.
to everybody.
Let's go Dolphins. Maybe we can do it. Who the fuck knows? Crazier things have happened.